I'm gonna showcase to you how I've set up my home office to shoot 3 types of YouTube videos in an efficient manner. And hit that like button if you like dancing around your studio like I do when you get amped to make YouTube videos. Setup number 1, the gear review setup. You might be asking yourself, Javier, how does this framing look so fresh and so clean? Well, the camera and lens that I use for my master shot is the Sony a7 III with the 16-35 f4.0. That's how I can get this really wide shot. 1 second. Let's say I was reviewing this mixer. I wanted to have a view where I can interact with the camera and still have the item in frame, but I also, above, have a top-down shot with this little doohickey. This is the Sony RX100 IV. It's great because it's lightweight and I can easily get a top-down shot by using a microphone stand. The audio zoom recorders come with this little contraption sometimes where it has the threads that you need to go into video cameras on one end, and the rest of it mimics the shape of a handheld microphone. So using this zoom recorder attachment and putting it into the microphone clip gives me a cheap and efficient way to do a top-down shot in this scenario. And I can also flip the Sony RX100 screen so I can view it while I'm doing my top-down shots. In order to monitor myself in what I'm doing in all 3 setups in the studio, I mentioned that I could tilt this screen so I can see what I'm doing, but my sight line is normally with the camera that's over here in the corner and down here looking at the item. I'm really not looking up, so that doesn't really help me much. What I end up using is, a monitor that I plug straight into the HDMI out of this camera. This is the Livid Field Vision monitor, and I think it's good enough to get the job done. It has HDMI in on the back. Right now I'm powering it with a Canon battery, but I believe when you purchase these, you can purchase it with an option to do different kinds of batteries. So there's a little adapter here that you can screw on for the type of batteries that you might have laying around. And there's an on and off switch and DC power. And now I can string this cable over the microphone stand and set the monitor over here in the corner. So whenever I'm looking at the camera, I can see what's going on in the monitor from the top-down shot, thus keeping everything in frame. The second way that I monitor myself, which I find a little bit more efficient, is using the cell phone app for my Sony. All I have to do is connect my phone to my Sony camera and I can actually control record. I can change the f-stop and all the different settings right here on camera, as opposed to getting up, changing everything on the camera. The picture quality isn't as good as this monitor, but at least I have 2 different monitors at a fairly inexpensive price to view what I'm doing on camera here in all of my different setups. Now for a quick overview of the lights that I use and why I use them. Behind me is a Dracast LED light. This creates a nice hard hair light on me, and if you want to see the difference, that's how it looks when it's off. And if you can't tell, the hair light helps distinguish my figure from the dark background by creating this little highlight on my shoulder here and on my face. This light in the background is a very cheap light fixture that you can get from any hardware store, and I just put a daylight light bulb in there that's pretty bright, and I use it to accentuate anything in the room. Primarily, I use it to highlight the awesome painting in the background by @EmilyMercedesArt, my sister-in-law. In fact, there's this neat little trick that you can do. Let me show you. Oh wait, I need this right here. And yeah, so you take a shirt like this, look at the painting, and well, it prints it on the other side of the shirt. Isn't that awesome? People like the design so much that I turned it into a t-shirt. Merch link in description. Wow! The primary source of light that I use for many years, besides a window, which is perfect if you can get close to a window, but if it was nighttime, I would have to use something, and that something was one of these ball fixtures that has the tissue paper around it. I think one of the most inexpensive, best purchases you can make as a video person is one of these guys. It creates a nice diffuse, soft light around the subject, as opposed to a really harsh light coming from an LED, notice how it creates hard shadows and really harsh highlights, which could be favorable in some circumstances, but the tissue paper diffuses the light to create a soft wraparound of that light of whoever or whatever you are filming. Now, up until recently, I was using that light fixture, and I, again, highly recommend getting something like that if you are starting out in video. Now, just around this Christmas and also my birthday money, I invested in a light dome because I just saw all of the other YouTubers using it, and I can see why they use something like this. It's the Aperture 120D Mark II, and I'm not the most experienced light person, but getting something like this definitely helps in the way that you turn it on, you face it towards the thing that you want to have lit well, and it just works. It just is a good light. It wraps the light around what it needs to, and it makes things look so much better, even if you don't have a great camera. I forget the YouTuber that I was watching that said this, but instead of purchasing more expensive camera equipment, it may be more beneficial to get a good light. And I cannot agree more with that statement, because after getting this, my life has just gotten so much better about setting up a light and getting to work. Now, like I said, I utilize this space for 3 kinds of video shoots. Right here is the gear reviews, right here would be my podcast, and here is where I do my video tutorials on the computer. And all I have to do is move my light on the C-stand to over here for my podcast. And then when I'm doing my video tutorials, I just move the light over here, point it towards me. It's that easy. All I have to do is just swivel the light wherever I want to be filming. Now, before I get into sound, I hope you've left a thumbs up on the video, and let's talk about the Dincom Systems Action Prod Pro and how awesome it is. It has a thread for your camera and it can clip to anything, but I primarily use it in this setup to hang it on the lip of my window and put the A7 III with the Sony 50mm 1.8. Now, when it does come to sound, I use the Zoom H6, and the microphone I use is the Shure SM7B, along with the cloud lifter going into that. So the Shure SM7B connects straight into the cloud lifter, which raises the audio levels by 20 dB clean gain. And then I connect that straight into my Zoom H6. Now, this does have a connection that can go directly into my computer, which is awesome, but I can also use it as a handy recorder because it has batteries, so it's portable. I use a boom arm to hold my Shure SM7B when I'm at the computer, and at my gear review station, that is just held together by a clamp right here. And all you have to do is just drop it straight in, and gravity is in your favor. The boom arm that I use specifically has a microphone cable going through the arm. I don't know if they sell this anymore, but I'll probably find a similar one to this to put in the description. And for my headphones, I use Bose headphones to monitor while I'm editing, and I use a Mac computer. If you guys are interested to see how I set up my video podcast, I'll put that on the screen right now. Don't forget to subscribe, like, comment down below what you guys like about the studio. Is there anything that I should change? All the things. All right, until next episode, I hope you're out there living a life of abundance.